The Mongol Empire was one of the largest empires in history, covering a vast territory stretching from China to Eastern Europe. Founded in the early 13th century by Genghis Khan, it eventually collapsed in the late 14th century. The fall of the Mongol Empire was a complex event, and it had a significant impact on the history of the world. In this video, we will examine the various factors that contributed to the fall of the Mongol Empire and explore its consequences. The Mongol Empire was a formidable force that conquered and ruled over vast territories for centuries. It was an empire built on military might, political savvy, and cultural tolerance. The Mongol rulers were known for their military conquests, religious tolerance, and cultural assimilation. However, the empire began to decline in the late 14th century, and it eventually collapsed. The fall of the Mongol Empire was due to a combination of factors, including internal conflicts, external pressures, and economic decline. Let us explore these factors in detail. One of the primary reasons for the fall of the Mongol Empire was internal conflicts. After the death of Kublai Khan in 1294, the empire faced a series of succession crises. Kublai's successors were weak and lacked the charisma and military acumen of their predecessors. The lack of strong leadership led to political instability, which made the empire vulnerable to external threats. Moreover, the Mongol Empire was a decentralized state, with power concentrated in the hands of regional rulers. The regional rulers often pursued their interests rather than those of the empire as a whole. This led to a weakening of the central government, which made it difficult to maintain control over the vast territories. Another factor that contributed to the fall of the Mongol Empire was external pressures. The empire faced a series of military defeats in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. The Mongol forces were defeated by the Mamluks in Egypt, the Japanese in a failed invasion, and the Chinese Ming dynasty. These defeats weakened the Mongol Empire's military power and damaged its reputation as an invincible force. Moreover, the Mongols faced threats from other nomadic tribes, such as the Timurids and the Oirats, who sought to carve out their own territories. These external pressures further weakened the empire and contributed to its eventual collapse. The Mongol Empire's economy was largely based on trade and tribute. The empire controlled the Silk Road, a vital trade route that connected China to Europe. However, the trade declined in the 14th century due to the outbreak of the Black Death, which killed millions of people in Europe and Asia. The decline in trade led to a decline in revenue, which made it difficult for the empire to maintain its military and administrative apparatus. The Mongol Empire also faced economic competition from emerging powers such as the Ottoman Empire and the Ming dynasty. These powers had more advanced economies and were better equipped to compete in the global marketplace. The economic decline of the Mongol Empire contributed to its eventual collapse. One of the unique features of the Mongol Empire was its relatively high degree of religious and cultural tolerance. Unlike many other empires of the time, the Mongols did not seek to impose their religion or culture on their subjects. Instead, they allowed local cultures and traditions to thrive and even encouraged assimilation. This policy of tolerance and assimilation was a key factor in the Mongol Empire's initial success, as it allowed the empire to gain the support of a diverse range of peoples. However, over time, this policy of tolerance and assimilation began to break down. As the empire grew larger and more diverse, it became more difficult to maintain cultural and religious harmony. In addition, some Mongol rulers began to favor their own culture and traditions over those of their subjects, leading to increased tension and conflict. Another cultural factor that contributed to the fall of the Mongol Empire was cultural fragmentation. The Mongols themselves were a relatively small minority within the empire, and they relied heavily on the support of local elites to maintain their rule. However, over time, these local elites began to assert their own cultural identities and interests, leading to increased fragmentation and division within the empire. This fragmentation was further exacerbated by the fact that the Mongols themselves were not a homogeneous group. They were divided into various tribes and clans, each with its own traditions and customs. As the empire expanded, these internal divisions became more pronounced, leading to increased conflict and instability. Cultural factors also played a role in the Mongol Empire's loss of military strength. The Mongols were renowned for their military prowess, but over time, their military traditions began to decline. This was due in part to the influence of local cultures and traditions, which often placed less emphasis on military training and discipline. In addition, as the empire grew larger, it became more difficult to maintain a cohesive military force, leading to a decline in the quality and effectiveness of the Mongol army. The Mongol Empire also faced several revolts and rebellions in its later years. The local populations in various regions became increasingly dissatisfied with Mongol rule and sought to overthrow their overlords. One notable example was the Red Turban Rebellion in China, which was led by the Han Chinese against Mongol rule. The rebellion lasted from 1351 to 1368 and eventually led to the collapse of the Mongol Yuan dynasty in China. Similar revolts and rebellions also occurred in other regions, which further weakened the Mongol Empire. The fall of the Mongol Empire had significant consequences for the history of the world. It marked the end of an era of nomadic empires and paved the way for the emergence of more centralized states. The fall of the Mongol Empire also led to the fragmentation of Central Asia, which had a lasting impact on the region's history. Moreover, the decline of the Mongol Empire opened the door for the rise of new powers, such as the Ottoman Empire and the Ming dynasty. The fall of the Mongol Empire was a complex event that was caused by a combination of internal conflicts, external pressures, economic decline, and cultural factors. The empire's collapse had significant consequences for the history of the world and marked the end of an era. However, the legacy of the Mongol Empire lives on, and it continues to influence the cultures and histories of the regions it once ruled.